السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. اليوم رح نبدأ محاضرتنا ونكمل من مطرح ما وقفنا مع مجموعة الواتن الدولية إن شاء الله. Today we are going to start about adjective restricted to attributive and predictive function. Last lecture we were talking about adjectives, okay, and we make a kind of comparison between adjectives and noun, adjective and determiners, and adjectives versus verbs, okay. So but unfortunately we stopped on this point. So today we are going to continue with adjectives that are restricted to attributive or predictive. We mentioned, or I mentioned before, that attributive means وصفي, predictive تنبؤي. So here, almost most of the adjectives, okay, can be used both attributively and predictively. Like the following examples here: a huge hole. The hole was huge. Okay, so in this ways, whole. The adjective huge. Okay, here in the into this example, in these two examples, so both are adjectives, which is one attributive and one predictive. So not to be just not to be confused, because as I said, most of the adjectives can be either attributive or predictive. So alter nonsense, that nonsense was altered. The asleep children, the children were asleep, So these examples, demonstrate, okay, that the same adjective can be attributive and predictive. But what are we going to talk about, okay, and what are we going to concentrate about? Here the attributive only adjectives، يعني الصفات اللي بتجي فقط وصفية. Okay, so noun phrase contain a sample of adjectives here. Noun phrase containing, okay, a sample of the other adjectives that are attributive only are given in the following examples. Yani, these adjectives, okay, those are kind of attributive actually. They cannot be, they cannot be predictive. This dam in budget cut, okay, the eventual winner, her former husband, our future prospects, the main problem, a mere child, okay, the only drawback, their own fault, the principal advantage, the putative father, the sole survivor, the veritable jungle, a veritable jungle, sorry. So here, these, those adjectives, okay, all of them, they usually should precede the noun. يعني غالبا بيجوا قبل الاسم. That's why we call them, attributive. Okay, so those are why we call them, as I said, attributive adjectives. Okay, so here the second point, never attributive adjective. Those are, those adjectives kind of, they cannot be attributive. Okay, most of them, this is this information just for you. Most of them, they start with the letter, A, like the house a place. The house was a place. Something was a maze, a myth. It is liable to flood. The boy seemed afraid. It was devoid of interest. The baby looked content. The child was alone. Corruption was reef. I was ultra breath. So here breath means معتوه. Okay, reef منتشر. Okay, so the devoid خالي. I think if someone is attending, you might asking me, but it's not my business to translate the word. So, but please try to translate it to your mother tongue. Sometimes I forget because a miss here is something that like ناقص. Okay. uh, so it's liable to flood. يعني هذا معرض للفيضان. Okay. So all of these adjective, you need to pay attention to 2 points. Okay. Most of them, they start with A. Most of them, not all of them. And these kind of adjective actually become after linking words. Okay, linking verbs. Like أغلبهم بيجوا بعد linking verbs اللي هي مثل seen, مثل sound, مثل verb to be. Okay, those kind look, مثل looked. All of these we call it, okay, linking verbs. You can search on Google about the linking verbs list. Okay, you should be familiar with it. Okay, and if you have any question also, you can go ahead and ask me. فقلنا الاتريبيوتيف، عيد شوي. الاتريبيوتيف تمام، قلنا هدول بيسبقوا النون تمام حصرا. وذكرنا بعض الأمثلة عن الصفات يلي هي وصفية وتسبق النون according to never attributive adjective يلي هي مانها attributive، مانها وصفية. ذكرنا إنه غالبا هدول الصفات معظمهم بيبدأوا بحرف ال A، وإنه عادة بيجوا بعد تمام linking verbs. Now let's continue. Restriction may apply to sense rather than lexeme. Okay. No, not this one. I will skip this point. Now let's move on to the structure restriction on attributive. يعني التركيبات اللي بتمنع on attributive adjective لأنه ضمن السياق. Okay, so here we go. Let's read the examples first. She was devoted to her children. يعني كانت مكرسة حياتها بهالمعنى لأطفالها. Okay. She was cattious to excess. Yes. So هي كانت cattious تجي بمعنى خبيرة للإطراق يعني. Okay. The attributive devoted to her children mother. No, this is wrong. Okay. A catches to access manager. No. Okay. So these, are the meaning, not the meaning. These, adjectives actually we cannot put them in, what I said in the attributive form. Okay. As I told you every time, just to try to memorize. Okay, just one example. So let's read also the following examples here. The house was big enough. The result was better than expected. A big enough house, a better than expected result. So enough is allowed quite generally after gradual, here. Pay attention to this point. So enough is on. Okay. I meant to highlight it. Not the first. Okay. So enough here, okay, is allowed quite generally after gradual adjectives, like the following one. Okay. The house was big enough. Okay. يعني enough تيجي دائما عادة بعد الصفة التدريجية اللي بتعطيني تدريج لحجم أو كتلة شيء. So here, than expected, okay, in a short comparative complement that is primitive within an attributive adjective. يعني expected, a better than expected هي اجت بصيغة المقارنة a better than expected. تمام بعد الصفة اللي هي الجاي بصيغة المقارنة اللي هي الbetter. Okay. So these kind of adjectives, okay, those can be attributive, as I mentioned in the following examples. So now let's move on to another point, okay, which is other function of adjectives. So here, other function of adjective actually. So beside the two major function, okay, we discussed before. So here we got the post, positives, okay. What does that mean? Post positive adjective function in, the MB, okay. Let me highlight it here. Adjective function as an NB, structure as post head internal modifier. يعني معدل داخلي للnoun phrase like everything useful, somebody rich, somewhere safe, those responsible, children keen on sport, a report full of errors, a suggestion likely to offend. Okay, the only modification possible, the ones asleep, the president-elect. So the examples here, there we got fused determiner heads, يعني عنا the determiner head اللي هو المحذوف, okay, making it impossible for the adjective to occur in the usual pre-head. يعني ما لأنه determinal determines here محذوف, تمام. فاجت الصفة وين؟ ما كان عندي إمكانية إنه تجي الصفة قبل الهاد. لهيك الصفة اجت بعد الهدية اللي هي everything here. فهيك اجت everything useful. لازم عادة مثلا useful بنقول مثلا a useful lecture for example. We usually use it like that. So لأنه هون الdeterminers محذوف ما كان عندنا إمكانية غير نحطه بعد الهاد. Okay. Okay. According to the second line, the modifiers, okay. According to the second line, the modifiers here, the modifiers would be inadmissible, يعني غير مقبولة in pre-head position. ما فيني حطها قبل pre-head position. Like children keen on sport, So here وين الصفة keen؟ حريص. الأطفال حريصون على الرياضة مثلا. Okay. A report full of errors. So full here, this is مليء, يعني هذه هو الصفة. فهون هيدا لأنه الموديفايرز would be inadmissible, يعني غير مقبولة to be in pre-head position because the adjective has its own post-head dependence. ليه؟ لأنه الادجكتيف عندها البوست هيد dependence لحالها dependence. Okay. According to the third one, okay, according to the third point, here we go. A very small number of expectation adjectives that occur only post-positively here. So only a very small number, okay? So you just try to memorize them. That's what I'm saying, So usually because we know that, in the internal, okay, internal pre-head adjectives, we use them, like internal, we said kind of internal modifiers, معدل داخلي, as I mentioned. But here in this point, I mentioned that adjective comes post-head internal adjective, يعني ما بعد الhead, okay? معدل داخلي ما بعد الhead. That's all. I wish that you will understand this point, okay? But this is easy. Now we finished actually with the adjective. We mentioned that the adjective actually that are, about the adjectives and the functions and, the comparison between the adjectives and, the, what is called it? The other function of the, adjectives. Now, today we are going to move on, okay, and talk about something which is very essential also in the grammar instruction, which is, adverbs. So the main thing that makes the adverb category open is that such a high proportion, of adverbs are morphology derived from adjectives by adding, the suffix ly. عادة الشيء اللي بيميزه للادفيرب تمام إنه هو مشتق نحويا، هو مشتق من الصفة بإضافة الsuffix اللي هو المقطع الكلامي ly للصفة تمام. وهذا الشيء بيسهل عليكم شوي إنه تقدروا تحصروا العدد يعني أو قسم الادفيرب اللي هو منتهي ly. Okay, so here they are talking about the modifying nouns and modifying verbs. Okay, here they are giving us examples. Okay, the modification of noun and modification of verbs. Here we are going to tell us, they are going to tell us about when adverbs modify noun and when adverb modifies verbs. Okay, let's start with the noun. A happy family. A happy family. So here happy actually, this is, what is it? Try to think about it. This is adjective, that's right. But for example, on the second column, okay, so happy, we mentioned that this is an adjective. While on the second column, they all lived happily ever after. So happily here, this is modifying the verb live, okay? So here, happy becomes happily. The second example, a greedy child. A greedy child يعني الطفل الطماع يعني. The child devoured it greedily, The child devoured it greedily يعني الطفل التهمها بطمع أو بجشع. Okay. So here greedily, okay, this is the adverb form of the adjective greedy, and here it modifies the verb. Usually when we want to ask about adverb, guys, we should ask how did he devour it? So the child devoured it greedily. For example, they all lived happily ever after. How did they live? They all lived happily ever, So that's how we know or we distinguish between the adverb, okay, and the adjective. For example, they all lived well ever after. So how do they, live, or how did they live? Okay, so here we answer they all lived happily. يعني دائما لما نسأل عن الظرف or adverbs, we ask by how, بكيف. وعن طريق يعني عن طريق جوابنا، الجواب هو بيعطيني الظرف. تمام؟ لهيك هذه أقرب طريقة توصلكم إنه هاد this is adverb not adjective. أنا عم بحكي in case the adjective is not in case the adverb is not ending with ly. بحالة الادفرب ما بينتهي ب ly. Okay. Now let's continue. A passionate lover. Okay. So here they loved each other passionately. So passionately here, this is adverb which tell us how do they love each other. Okay, is it clear? Inshallah. Now let's move. Now the second point, okay, which is adverbs are modifiers of categories other than the noun. يعني الادverb هي بتجي معدلة لفئات مختلفة عن الاسم. So here the term of adjective actually is based on the function of these words as a modifier of verbs. عادة هون الادverbs يعني رح أقول لكم إياهم بالجملة شو ما كان موقعهم فهنا modifier لشيء. Okay? هن modifier لشيء محدد. So let's read the examples here, a virtual disaster. So a virtual here, this is what we call it, virtual, this is an adjective. Disaster, this is noun. Okay? So, the second one, it's virtually evaporated. Evaporated. So, evaporated mean تبخرت. Virtually يعني بشكل حيوي أو بشكل فعلي. So the first one, a virtual disaster يعني تجي بمعنى كارثة فعلية. It virtually evaporated يعني تبخرت بشكل فعلي. Okay? So here, virtually, this is an adverb. Okay? Now let's continue. It was virtually impossible. So impossible here, pardon, sorry. Here, disaster, we mentioned that this is noun. Virtual, this is, adjective in the first one. The second one, evaporated, this is verb. Okay, here, verb, this is noun. It was virtually impossible. Impossible, this is what? Adjective. He spoke virtually inaudibly, so inaudibly here, this is also an adverb, notice the ly at the end, so he spoke virtually inaudibly. These also adverbs, his almost death, no. So usually adverbs cannot occur before the noun, he almost dead, okay. It can occur before the verb because here almost, almost here a modifier. Almost, this is an adjective. Sorry, adverb, okay? So here almost, this is an adverb which modified the verb day. Almost in the first sentence, this is, incorrect because almost as an adverb, most of the adverb cannot be occur before the, the noun. Okay, they might occur before the, like he almost dead, before the verb, but it's impossible to occur before the noun. He was almost dead. Here again, he was almost dead. So here dead, this is an adjective, we are describing him. He was wounded almost fatally, يعني جروحه غالبا كانت fatally قاتلة. فهون almost it motivates the adverb itself. So الادverb ممكن تجي تعدل نفسها من خلال الجملة. فقلنا هلا بالمختصر الادverbs، تمام، الادverb وين بيقعوا؟ they cannot occur، ما ممكن يقعوا قبل الاسم، ممكن يجوا كمعدل قبل الفعل كمعدل للفعل، تمام، أو ممكن بعد الفعل كمان. مثلا he drives slowly, it's possible. Oh, he speaks English fluently, he speaks English fluently. This, fluently occur after he speaks, so it's possible. قلنا كمان إنه الادverb can modify the adjectives. We mentioned this when we talk also about adjectives. وقلنا الadverbs, okay, here can, modify the adverbs itself. Now we are going to move, about, something that is critical, because, sometimes, what I want to pay your attention that the adverbs function not only modifying the verbs, nouns, adjectives, such like that, but also they not only do adverbs modify verbs, adjective and other adverbs. They also modify determinatives, preposition phrase, the MP phrase. Again, we double underline the head. Okay, that is modified. Anyway, and also, by the way, I don't know whether you're going to mention this. Also, adverbs can modify the whole sentence. Okay, maybe later on we will get some example about it, but I don't know. Let's read. So here, the first point, okay? Virtually all copies are torn. Torn يعني تمزقت. Okay? Virtually, فعليا. all copies. So here, all copies are turned. So virtually, نحن هون virtually what? All. So virtually all. So here, virtually, which is an adverb, it modified its alternatives. I have almost no money left. I have almost no money left. So almost, this is modified, which is the alternatives no. Sorry. I did it virtually by myself, so virtually by myself. By myself, this is preposition, this is preposition phrase. And virtually here comes to modify the preposition phrase. It lasted almost until midnight. It lasted almost until midnight. So until midnight also, this is preposition phrase and almost comes to modify, the preposition phrase. The last one, I am virtually his only friend. أنا فعليا صديقه الوحيد. I bought almost the last copy. يعني أنا اشتريت فقط أو على الأغلب يعني آخر نسخة. So all of this, the last copy and on, his friend only, these two, we consider them as an NB. Okay, guys? So قلنا الفانكشن للadverb not only by modifying, not only modifying verbs, adjectives, and other adverbs, it can modify determinatives, it can modify preposition phrase, and also noun phrase as well. Okay? Now, here we go. We are going to also make the same comparison we got, before, like we did according to the adjectives, adverb versus adjective. So you know what? Actually, according to this too, okay, we can make kind of, a superlative to adverbs with ly by adding more or the most. If we apply if we apply the superlative and comparative to the adverbs, it will be incorrect. Absolutely. So that's how we distinguish between the adverb and the adjective, which is very easy. Okay. Ethan should have attended this class, should have attend this class. Sorry. So here, modifier, predictive complement, an impressive performance, an impressive performance. Her performance was impressive. So this is show, because, we said that adjectives occurs before, the nouns, internal modifier in the ND, or can be, external after the verb, like, her performance was, or after the linking verbs, like was impressive. This is adjective. We cannot say that, her no, we can say her performance impressively, but we cannot say, her performance was impressively. We cannot say this one. Why? يعني إنه كان أدائها the first one كان أدائها بشكل رائع. أدائها كان بشكل رائع. We cannot say it like this. Okay? So here هون شو عملوا؟ They tried to occur, okay, to put or to occur the adverbs in a place of the, in a place of the adjective. يعني هون حطوا لنا الادفيرب سوري بمكان الصفة وفرجونا ايمت ممكن الادفيرب يوقع وايمت لا. So هون the second sentence, she performed impressively. Okay, what happened here? Here here pay attention. Performed اجت الادفيرب بعد الفعل. تمام، لانه اصلا هي modified the verb here. يعني تغيرت، ما اجت كانترنال وموديفاير وقبل النون. اساسا قلنا ان الادفيرب ما بتجي قبل النون، تمام. والادفيرب عاده ما بتجي بعد اللينكينج verb directly, you know. So this is according to the position, okay. Now let's move on to the overlap the category. But you know, before we will take these two examples. She almost succeed. Her success was almost. You know, we mentioned that, you know, that adverb cannot come, you know, after the, like here. So adverb cannot occur after the linking verb, you know. So this is incorrect. Okay. This is, you know, another example about the same point. So they cannot use as a predicative complement. يعني ما فينا نستخدمهم ب predicative complement بالتكملة التنبؤية اللي نحن أخذناها بمحاضرات سابقة. You know, it's so silly to translate some words literally to Arabic, you know. Now, overlap between the categories. We mentioned that overlap يعني التطابق، وهذا يعني نحن بدنا نركز عليه بأي فئة أو بأي فئة نحن بنحكي عنها. Okay. So here like the following example. The first one, which is adjective, their early departure. Departure here يعني رحيلهم المبكر. That very day. That very day. I don't feel well. I don't feel well. So all of these, you know, they are considered as an adjective. أكيد رح تسألوني كيف صارت that very day. يعني بتجي بمعنى بالعامية هداك اليوم بالضبط. بالفصحى ذاتها ذاتها اليوم يعني. I don't know. My Arabic is very bad. Anyway, maybe you know this. Here الadverb they departed early. هم غادروا early باكرا. It's very good. I didn't play well. Okay. I didn't play well. So here will becomes different. So will might be adjective. will حسنا ممكن تجي بمعنى شكل منيح أو جيد، وبتجي بمعنى بشكل جيد.